Just to preface with this vlog, it was very unintentional. Someone actually suggested that I do it on TikTok, so I've just had to compile all of our videos and pictures from the trip, hence why a lot of them aren't in the YouTube format. We got a taxi from the airport to the Arc de Triomphe, which was incredibly expensive, and it took an hour, plus the weather all week was literally late 30s, about 38, 39 to 41 degrees the whole time we were there. We got to Paris at about 11 a.m, but we couldn't check in until 2 p.m, so we went for some food, going past the massive Louis Vuitton shop on the way. We then got on the tube to a hotel in Paris East, lugging our luggage all the way. Then we had a shower and got changed, and then tubed back to the city centre to go and discover the city. We went to the George V hotel for a couple of cocktails, as my uncle and auntie had stayed there when they were in Paris and they recommended that we go. And honestly, I mean, the decor was gorgeous, but the aircon, wow, it was such a relief in that heat. It was incredible. Me and Calvin have never ever experienced weather that was in the 40s before, neither abroad or at home in England. Next, we walked down to the Seine to go on a canal boat trip around all the landmarks that you can see from the river. The cool breeze off the river was so lovely. My favourite of the landmarks that we saw on the river tour was the conciergerie. It has had royals live there since the 6th century, but the castle that we see today was built between the 11th and the 14th centuries. The royals left to move to the Louvre in the 13th century, and it then became a prison. And this is where Marie Antoinette spent the last 76 days of her life, imprisoned, waiting to be guillotined. Following our stomachs, we went to Les Romantiques for some lovely food, and I absolutely adored the interior of this restaurant. At this point, when we'd finished our food, it was around 9:30 p.m. on our first night, the 22nd of June. So then we headed back to the hotel and just had a shower, relaxed for the rest of the night. We didn't get into the city until about 11 a.m. the next day, as heat exhaustion had certainly set in and we slept for absolutely ages. But this is some of the gorgeous architecture that we were walking through. You often see the same structures and styles with these types of buildings throughout the whole of Europe. I've seen the same in London and in Amsterdam. Never does it fail to amaze me that these structures are all around 800 years old plus sometimes. We accidentally stumbled across the Tour St Jacques whilst we were heading towards the Notre Dame. We'd never heard of this place before. It is the tower of the St Jacques Church that was there on that land. However, the church itself was knocked down, leaving only the tower standing. Nicholas Flamel of Harry Potter fame is also buried under the floor. As the usual with many of these old buildings, half of the Notre Dame was actually having work done on it, but we were still allowed to go in. The queues were huge and we had to stand outside in the searing heat. The queue went down quite quickly though, as they let in quite a lot of people all at once. But look how big this church is. I have genuinely never stepped foot in a bigger church, and it is absolutely gorgeous from all angles. But it was so busy, and because of how many people in there, it was so warm as well. Cathedral Notre Dame de Paris translates to the Cathedral of Our Lady of Paris. It seats up to 9,000 people. Can you imagine having your Sunday Mass here? It was built between 1163 and 1345. That means it took 182 years to build, and they begun building 863 years ago, and on completion 681 years ago. Outside, the staff ask that you cover your belly, thighs and shoulders. This was a new one on me, as obviously I'd heard of Catholic women veiling their heads in church, as some do in my church at home. However, I'd never heard of covering the bodies. Fair enough, obviously when we're at church at home you can't go in booty shorts and a bikini top, but I'm still able to wear crop tops or vest tops if I want to. The detail in this place was absolutely astounding, and it genuinely felt like I was completing a pilgrimage being in this place, and getting to pray here as well was just gorgeous, so stunning. I can quite say when it comes to interior design, no one quite does it like French Catholics. They are extravagant and it is amazing to see. You could spend hours just looking at all of these pictures and paintings and stained glass, and the church is so big that it literally has little chapels off the side of the main church, as well as lots of confession boxes. We then stopped off for a cheeky cocktail to quench our thirst, as we wanted to head to the Pantheon. However, unfortunately the Pantheon was closed to public as they were interring Marc Bloch, a World War II resistance fighter. So instead we decided to go to the Aquarium de Paris. Calvin absolutely loves marine biology and all little sea creatures, so this was mainly for him. But it was lovely in there, and we got to see lots of different little creatures and creepy crawly animals that kind of freaked me out. But here we are. The koi fish were beautiful, absolutely stunning. We also got to see a few different types of sharks, which were in a massive tank. I think they said it was something like 500 litres, 5,000 litres, 50,000 litres. I can't even remember, but these sharks, wow. Look at him doing his little back wriggles, so cute. We then saw the big scary one, which was kind of terrifying for me, but like I say, Calvin loves marine life and he absolutely adores sharks. But look at this big boy swimming over. This is a better view of how big this tank was, like really deep. Afterwards, we had some Mexican food, but I didn't get to get any pictures of it as I completely forgot. Then we headed back to the hotel so I could get ready, do my makeup, and then we headed out to the Eiffel Tower. It started twinkling at sunset, which was about 10 p.m. And then Calvin popped the question. Oh my gosh, we got engaged. I couldn't have thought of a more perfect proposal. It was gorgeous and I was just so happy, and still am so happy. As I'm recording this, it's only been a week today since we got engaged. It was nearly 11:15 by the time we left the Eiffel Tower. So we went across the road for some food and some celebratory cocktails. I didn't get a picture of the food, unfortunately. I also can't remember the name of the restaurant. We did the half-an-hour tube journey back to the hotel and we went to bed, as it was literally probably about 12:30 at this point. Having such a late night, we didn't get the tube to Père Lachaise until around probably 11 a.m, 12 p.m. We had this absolutely delicious food where I tried a croquette monsieur for the first time. And then we headed around the corner to the Cimetière de Père Lachaise, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It is a Gothic Victorian cemetery that holds over 1 million interments, and it is Europe's biggest necropolis. The mausoleums are either famous people or very rich families from Paris. I know I call them Victorians, but that's just the way of English people thinking of this era. Though in France, obviously, it was the Napoleonic era. Never in my life have I come across tombs and mausoleums like this. This is not like your average headstone at all. None of these things are, but we know that people in the 19th century were obsessed with death and with Gothic things and with elaborate mourning rituals, so this is kind of where that comes from. While we were in the cemetery, it was 41 degrees, and however, you could spend the whole day walking around here, as it is quite literally massive. I'd probably say it's nearly the size of like a village, but because of the heat, we didn't get to spend as much time there as we'd have liked to, so I missed out on seeing quite a few of the mausoleums and tombs that I wanted to see, such as the World War II monuments and the mass graves of World War II resistance leaders and the mass graves of concentration camp victims. I did get to see the tomb of Eliane Brault, who was a World War II resistance fighter, as well as the tomb of Oscar Wilde, the poet. This was a mass grave of 35 World War II resistance fighters who had not yet reached the age of 17. We then got the tube back to where our hotel was, and opposite there was a place called the Melting Pot, which was great food. Then after this, we went back to the hotel and had a few cocktails in the hotel bar and then went to bed. Thursday the 25th was the last day, and we had to be out of the hotel at 12 p.m. So we checked out, took our bags and went back to the Melting Pot for some food. We then tubed it back into the city centre to Saint-Germain-des-Prés. While Saint-Germain is slightly smaller than the Notre Dame, I would have to say it is certainly even more intricately detailed and possibly even more beautiful design inside. I could spend forever looking at all the details on these walls and all the pictures that are painted. It must have took forever to paint. It was a lot quieter in Saint-Germain, thankfully, and there was no queues to get inside, as I don't think it's as well known as the Notre Dame, as is the same with many Catholic churches. Both the Notre Dame and Saint-Germain were free to enter, as they only accept donations if you want to give to the church. It was originally founded in the year 558 as a Benedictine abbey. This was then destroyed by the Vikings and rebuilt in the 8th century and renamed after the Saint-Germain. It is considered the oldest existing church in Paris, as the ground was broken 1,483 years ago. What did I tell you though, right? No one does it like French Catholics. This is beyond beautiful. I wish I could actually put into words how amazed I was being sat in here, and the fact that it was so quiet, like, was such a privilege compared to the Notre Dame. This was just gorgeous to sit in peace in and just be with my thoughts. Many early kings of the Franks were buried in this church as well. As you can probably tell by how many videos and pictures I took, I was absolutely awestruck, starstruck, and just shocked at the sight of this absolutely amazingly old and ancient church. There was a shrine for St Edith Stein in the church as well, which was lovely. St Edith Stein was a Jewish German who converted to Catholicism and became a Carmelite nun, and she was killed in Auschwitz after capture in 1942. This church is certainly worth a visit, and if not for yourself, then for the thousands of decorators, painters, sculptors, etc. who have made and built this church over the years. We had to kill some time as our flight wasn't until 9:30 on the night. We then had some crepes and went in search of some fridge magnets to give to family members for souvenirs. We then did a very sweaty hour-long tube journey to Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, where we sat and waited for our plane, which was delayed by an hour. And this is us boarding to go back home to Birmingham. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Subscribe, like, comment, it means the world to me.